Hey everyone. Before I get going with this video, I need to address something quite serious. Have you heard of Raid Shadow Legends? The hottest game blowing up the mobile market, and I'm just fucking with you. No, I will not be getting sponsored by that trash game. Though, I bring this up because the company did reach out to me about advertising on my channel, and it got me thinking about promoted content. And as this channel grows and I move into making writing and video editing more of a career, a time will come when I need to consider such actions. Though, I can in good conscience advertise a product I don't personally stand by, so no matter how much is offered, you won't see me advertising Raid Shadow Legends or any game or item that doesn't resonate with me. This isn't to throw shade at other YouTubers, as we all gotta do what we gotta do to get by, so I don't fault them for taking various offers. But for me personally, I can't do it, so if and when a time comes and I do promote various goods, just know it'll be things I actually stand by. Ideally, I'd love to promote books as I'm an avid reader and I would love to tout the ones I love, but we'll see. Anyways, enough of that. On with the show.
No offense, but Dungeons & Dragons isn't just for nerds anymore. It's not just for a bunch of beardy boys in a basement. It's for everybody and anybody.
A little under 2 weeks ago, Kotaku posted an article headlined, "We keep having the same video game arguments and it's driving me bonkers." The piece is a prime example of current-day game journalist entitlement. It begins by immediately throwing yet even more shade on Escape from Tarkov and its lack of a playable female character, more on that in a bit, before then saying things like women should be represented and that because the developers cite lore reasons for why only men are engaging in this fictional battle, that it can be changed because, as I'll quote here, they create the lore. They can break it if they want. I'm going to do my best to put the entitlement aspect to the side, as that's a topic for another day. I mean, I could legit make a 5-part video series on that one, but don't worry, I won't actually do that. I'll save your brain cells. And instead, today, I want to address the inclusivity side of the argument. Not just for Escape from Tarkov, but the medium as a whole. Excuse some of the hyperbole here, but a cabal of far-left media influencers seems intent on molding the hobby into something that only benefits them. I use the term journalist lightly in the opening of this video, as they're less that than they are activists. Activist journalists. Or as I'll refer to them from here on out, jacktivists. In many ways, one of the best aspects of gaming as an entertainment medium is that it's an interactive experience that offers something for everyone, from kids to the elderly to even the most physically disabled among us. Anyone can be a gamer. Its global monetary valuation is evidence enough of this. It didn't become an industry worth untold billions on just the backs of heterosexual white men. Yet that is the narrative being weaved by countless gaming news outlets. It's through that narrative that the gaming press has begun calling for the limitation of certain types of games in a bid to make gaming friendlier to women and other supposed marginalized folks. It's through that narrative that jacktivists use their massive platforms to attack developers for not having female protagonists, and more. This has occurred even in games that were in early access in which the dev said female characters would eventually be implemented within the game. A great example of this is Radical Heights. This was the extreme early access battle royale dropped onto Steam by Cliff Bleszinski's now failed studio, Boss Key Productions. Came out not long after the official release of their massive bomb, Lawbreakers, and it was quite literally a Hail Mary. A final move to earn some funds and save the studio, something that clearly didn't work. Outside of not having female characters, it was lacking textures, gameplay mechanics, and more. The extreme in extreme early access wasn't hyperbole, yet to certain players within gaming media, they latched onto the lack of a playable female protagonist like parasites, churned out hit pieces, and convinced loads of players to not try the game as it didn't hit their woke criteria. Chances are the game would have still bombed on its own due to it just being a trend-chasing move of desperation by a studio near death. But there's no denying a cruel narrative caused it yet even more problems. Even to this day, jacktivists still use it as an example of something not being inclusive, like the most recent Kotaku piece mentioned at the top of the video. Another big issue with games media is that even when a game is inclusive as all hell, nothing is ever good enough. Most emblematic of this is Overwatch. Months ago, after receiving widespread backlash due to punishing a pro esports player who expressed solidarity with Hong Kong, Blizzard Entertainment made the predictable move and once again broke glass on emergency diversity PR. Although this time, instead of retroactively making an in-game Overwatch character gay to deflect criticism, as the company did in 2018, it introduced a black female to appeal to jacktivists who over the years have lamented that the game is not inclusive enough. Yes, Overwatch, an online shooter with Indian, Haitian, autistic, gay, bisexual, black, white, Asian, Egyptian, and Latino characters, and which checks other identity boxes, has been deemed not inclusive enough by today's media. Its crime? It doesn't, or didn't, have a bona fide black female character. Never mind it has other women and men of color, one of which is from Africa, but they aren't up to par because they either don't have ovaries or aren't dark enough. Throughout the past few years, mainstream gaming websites such as Kotaku, once again, have raised issue at the lack of a playable black female. Now with the announcement of Overwatch 2 and a new hero named Sojourn, you'd think they'd finally be happy. But while writing about the sequel, they decided to take entitlement to a whole new level. As Nathan Grayson would write, and this is all in quotes here, "It's something else to run a game for 3.5 years, add numerous heroes to it, and fail to represent a sizable segment of the populace who have asked to be included countless times, only to be sent to the back of the line. One character among a roster of 31, and counting, is not pandering. That's the absolute bare minimum of representation." End quote. That's from the same clique of journalists who constantly push the notion of the entitled gamer. I hate to repeat their rhetoric, but the entitled gamer does exist. It's just the images in their own mirrors and not the faux demons hiding in their closets. But again, that's a topic for another day. I'm really doing my best not to enter a rant at this current moment on their entitlement. While their reaction is not too surprising, what sticks out most is how they are mad at the wrong thing. A strong argument can be made about Blizzard's diversity being nothing more than a ploy to market the game to a particular type of person, and as a means to end controversy, as they have a habit of introducing certain elements when they're being boiled alive in waves of anger. It's hollow and disingenuous pandering to the nth degree. And for the record, I have no issue with diversity. I actually kind of like a lot of Overwatch's cast. But when they're using gay characters and black characters conveniently every time there's controversy, let's be real, it is disingenuous. Many in the press, however, aren't going that route. Instead, they're mad that a diverse game is not diverse enough, proving that nothing will ever satisfy them. Worst of all is when they try to cancel projects not intended for them. With every passing day, there seems to be a new call from the ever-increasing radical side of jacktivism to ban, censor, limit, or otherwise restrict the creation of certain games. As I'll touch up on later, this extends to other forms of media too. You see, they want gaming to be inclusive, but they only want it to be inclusive to them. Anything that doesn't meet the requirements, or which isn't made with them specifically in mind, is something to be tarnished and trashed. Obvious problems here aside, one major qualm I have is that these people are trying to make the medium exclusive. Similar to film, television, and books, video games are comprised of countless genres, and genres within genres. From adventure games to shooters to puzzles to even interactive visual novels, gaming is rife with experiences that can cater to anybody. But imagine if, due to a dislike of sports titles, I began calling for games like FIFA and Madden to go away. It's an absurd notion, right? Well, this is almost exactly what is happening now. In 2018, Matt Martin, the editor-in-chief of VG247, expressed the following: "Sad little boys and their corny titty games are on the way out. A dying breed. Good riddance. Gaming is only going to get more inclusive, positive, and stronger." End quote. But I have to ask, how does rooting for certain types of games to die out make the hobby more inclusive? Gaming should cater to all mindsets. Sure, some are more immature and ridiculous than others, but so what? They don't hurt anyone, so why try to make them go away? An entertainment medium is truly inclusive when there are countless things you enjoy and countless things you hate. Obviously, if there are things you enjoy, then there are creators making content that aligns with what you seek. And if there are things you hate, well, then there are creators making content to those with a different mindset than you. Yet to jacktivists, anything that upsets their sensibilities should not exist. And via hit pieces, social media dogpiles, and more, they use their platforms to drive their ideologically aligned readership away from certain experiences using the power of false narratives, even in instances where a game is inclusive. In 2018, PC Gamer reviewed RimWorld and made a big deal that stories related to trans characters seemed, and I'm using their word here, don't blame me for this, heteronormative. This phrasing caused, once again, people to dogpile the dev. Even other jacktivists jumped in to harass him. The catch is, the trans stories in the game were written by actual transgender Kickstarter backers. They were telling their own tales. Yet to jacktivists, they didn't seem real enough, and so non-trans writers tried canceling it. I won't go over the details here as this video is getting long, But it happened with the Red Strings Club too, when the media called it transphobic, even though a trans person was at the helm. As I already said, and I'm going to repeat myself to hammer this home, Jacktivists want gaming to be inclusive, but they only want it to be inclusive to them and their narrow worldviews. Anything that doesn't fit within its small confines is to be attacked. Enter Escape from Tarkov. The Russian-developed hardcore survival shooter found itself blowing up in popularity this past month thanks in large part to Twitch. It's been out in early development for a few years now, and due to loot drops on the video streaming platform, it got an extra boost. Never content with people having a good time, the game's media decided to have a controversial field day as Jacktivists dug up an interview from 2016 and threw it in the spotlight as a means of painting the entire development team as bigots. While speaking to WCCO Tech, again in 2016, programmer, and I'm gonna botch his name, Pavel Dadalov, was asked why there aren't female characters in the game, and he replied by saying, "Women are not allowed to be in the war, because they can't handle that amount of stress. There's only place for hardened men in this place," end quote. Not content with his answer, and possibly needing outrage clicks to meet that week's current quota, Jacktivists decided to create a narrative that the dev team doesn't like women. Articles popped up on all the usual sites, and as a quick browse of social media would reveal, the team became inundated with accusations of sexism and the like. Though not widely discussed by the bringers of rage is that Battlestate, the dev team, COO Nikita, I'm gonna botch this name again, Bayanov, denounced the interview, and the person who gave it had, according to the studio, been reprimanded. It was given by someone who isn't high up the chain of command, and being that English isn't their first language, something may have been lost in translation. Most notably, it's possible he was repeating the game's lore, which I'll get to that in a second. In a response on Reddit, the COO expressed that he in fact respects women in wars. The true reasoning for why female characters aren't playable is twofold. For one, as the team is relatively small and working with a smaller budget than a typical AAA video game, it simply costs too much time and money to create new animations, gear fittings, and such, especially considering the game still has its fair share of glitches and netcode problems. Their focus is elsewhere. The second reason is due to lore. In that game's universe, women can't be frontline soldiers. That is the story within the game. It's just that simple. Now, no one is demanding that you like the lore. I hate the story in a lot of games, but it is their artistic intent and it should be respected. To the Jacktivists, that's not good enough, and they made it known. As the Kotaku piece highlights, they're demanding the lore be changed. They are using inclusivity as a bludgeon to enact their own entitled viewpoints. The fact of the matter is that not every game needs a female character, and not every studio needs to explain their reasoning for excluding various genders or other identities. In the realm of creativity and art, everything should be allowed to exist. This is truer now than it ever has been, given women in games are far from rare. Of every game shown at 2019's E3 convention, 65% of them allowed players to choose a gender for their protagonist, and another 5% featured strictly feminine heroes. That's 70% of all games shown having playable chicks. But if Overwatch is evidence enough, it could be 100%, and they'd still complain. As stated earlier, this mindset is expanding well beyond games, too. Interrupting this video for one quick second, as I'm recording this, my asshole apartment managers just started plowing the outside, so that noise you're hearing is a snowplow. I am really sorry about that. This sucks, but I need to get this video done, so I'm just gonna have to make do. Sorry for the noise. Again, to get back into where I was in the video, this mindset is expanding well beyond games too. Just look at the outrage that arose when Barnes & Noble was going to sell Milo Yiannopoulos' book. They caved into pressure and prohibited it being physically sold in their brick-and-mortar stores. Similar outrage was levied towards Fox when it renewed the television series Last Man Standing after ABC canceled it. Thankfully, for those who are fans of the series, Fox went forth with its plans, but this does highlight an important aspect of the increasingly deranged Jacktivist. They want to stop the existence of anything they disagree with politically on. Before it was closed for good, think fuck, Think Progress threw a bookstore to the wolves because it was selling the Turner Diaries. Now, that book wasn't written by the best dude, but it's read for various reasons, including studying the mindset of the author. Think Progress, though, decided to fearmonger about it being linked to murders, but if that's their excuse, then they should be fighting to ban the Bible and the Quran as well. But anyways, their fucking hit pieces worked, and the store pulled the book. What all these jacktivists and other people fail to realize is that no book, game, movie, or television show can appeal to every single person, even to those within the same social circle. Yet, social justice warriors feel the need to try, and in doing so they are going about making media inclusive in all the wrong ways. Because as stated, entertainment becomes inclusive by propping up all genres so that anyone can find something that appeals to them personally. Yet instead of doing that, they make up lies and or attack the people who have been into various hobbies forever. This trashy BBC video comes to mind. D&D has always been for everyone, but now they've made it out as if only men ever enjoyed it, all the while they shit on them before lying. The reality is, gaming has always been for everyone, be it tabletop, digital, or whatever else. It's one of the best aspects of it. It truly has something for everyone. If every title was inclusive to all and checked every diversity box available, nothing would feel different and the medium would grow stagnant and die. There's nothing wrong with having games that only feature men, or ones which feature just women, or any combination in between. The only thing wrong here are the jacktivists who keep sending harassment developers' way all because they made something that wasn't created with them in mind. When your inclusivity is about exclusivity, you're going about it the wrong way.
No offense, but Dungeons & Dragons isn't just for nerds anymore. It's not just for a bunch of beardy boys in a basement. It's for everybody and anybody. It's got its problems, like most games to be honest, with diversity and inclusion. Dungeons & Dragons isn't just for nerds. And to be honest, it never has been.